Your story, our story, his story, this week will be a divine appointment with God as we understand how he loves to show up in the midst of his people and do things that only he can do. So welcome to the First Assembly, General Assembly of a second century Pentecostal Church of God.
When I went to prison, I felt alone. I felt separated from everybody and everyone. But honestly, I was never alone. When I went to prison, Jesus was in prison with me. How many of you know that we serve a God who restores? This is all about the God that we serve. This, my friends, is our story.
I just had it birthed in my spirit that we were going to somehow, some way, get them into a house before winter. I came to this meeting, prepared the report to express my heart to the convention at General Assembly. We had one of our missionaries stand up at the back of the auditorium, and he said, I don't know about you, but I just feel in my heart that I want to give $500. And it began with 1,000 and then 2,000 and 500. Pretty soon it was 5,000. Some gave, I think I heard some that gave 10,000, but they just kept giving. And it just kept coming and coming, and it just was spontaneously birthed. And we believe that it's somewhere around $83,000. We serve an awesome God. We serve an amazing God. It's not that I can't believe it, because I know that there's nothing he can't do. Everything's possible with God. I'm more encouraged tonight, right now, as we're recording this message to you, than I've ever been. So thank you, and God bless you.
One of the reasons why we're here after 101 years, because we didn't just catch on fire. For the last century, we are still on fire for the things of God. What makes today so different is that God's presence is here. And anytime God shows up, things that were unholy become holy simply because he decided to show up.
Un movimiento. Un movimiento. Una función, un movimiento. Un movimiento.
I preached at my church for 10 years, and for the last 4 months, I've pastored my church. I don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted that the PCG has invested not only in me, but our church, our staff, our city. I don't take that for granted at all. And I really do appreciate you guys doing that for us.
If I get better, my church gets better. And if I don't get better, and if I get dry and still, my church is going to be dry and still. And this pastor is no longer dry and still. God is doing something. And through this coaching, it's firing me up.
I walked in to a drug and alcohol treatment center on 6606. And I remember signing in, and this counselor named Barb said, have you ever asked Jesus into your life? And I was like, I've been to church. And she's like, it's not about going to church, it's about a relationship. And that night, as we're preparing to go to bed and all that, I sat there on my cot, and I remember crying out to God. And I said, God, I don't even know if you're real. But I said, if you're real, just come into my life, forgive me of all my sins, be my Lord and Savior. And it was like this big bright light, and like Jesus just wrapping his arms around me. radically changed my life. And it was exactly on 6/6/16, I became a licensed minister for the Pentecostal Church of God. It was literally 10 years to the date that I'd gotten radically saved on 6/6/06.
There was a young man who came to me and said, I'm really taking all this in as far as the Bible and Jesus. And he asked me, I want to be saved. And I led the young man in prayer. And shortly after, a few weeks while on deployment, we had a baptism there in Antarctica, and I was able to baptize him. And at that moment, when he rose out of the water, the Lord reminded me of myself as a young Marine, and it went full circle. And God really just did something at that moment for me. And I'm on this journey because as a Navy chaplain, so I can lead sailors to God and God to sailors. And so again, my name is Joe Del Valle, and this is my story.
That nothing can stop Jesus from fixing your story. Your age cannot stop Jesus from fixing your story. It doesn't matter whether you're old or young, in whatever generation you might be, Jesus can still fix your story. I want you to know that with Him, all things are possible.
Over 275 new souls coming to Christ, and as I'm talking now, the number is over 700 plus. That's new souls coming to Christ. One mission, one movement, and I believe we want to impact the whole of Malawi with this. Amen. May God bless you. God bless you.
I will lift up my voice and I will declare your greatness before the miracle. I will praise you in the morning. I will praise you in the noontime. I will praise you and magnify you before the miracle.
We are God's story. You know, when we talk about His story or history, we're talking about humankind is involved or engaged in a story that's being written by our Father in heaven. And so out of that then flows our story as a movement, as a Pentecostal Church of God, and then it becomes personal with my story, with your story. And we play a role in God's story, His story, history.